Iowa law recognizes that an unlawful termination causes serious harm, and if you successfully prove that your employer's conduct was truly unlawful, you may be entitled to recover a variety of damages. I'm attorney Laura Schultes with RSH Legal. Do you believe you have been unlawfully fired from your job in Iowa? If so, you likely feel angry or upset, and you want to know how to hold your former employer accountable. Here are 3 ways to help you get justice. Taking legal action sooner rather than later. There are different types of claims to allege an unlawful termination. These different claims all have different deadlines. If you believe your employer discriminated against you based on your membership in a protected class, you may only have 300 days to take legal action following your termination. This deadline likely applies if your termination was motivated by something like your race, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, age, disability, religion, or national origin. Any claim for unlawful discrimination in a termination situation cannot just be filed as a lawsuit in state or federal court. You must first file a complaint with either the EEOC or the Iowa Civil Rights Commission, and that complaint must be filed within 300 days of the unlawful discriminatory termination. In addition to unlawful discrimination, there are other types of firings that may be considered unlawful. Often, those other types of claims have a longer 2-year deadline to take legal action. Determining which deadline or deadlines may apply to your particular situation is not always a straightforward task. If you think you might have a claim for an unlawful termination, you should speak with an experienced Iowa employment law attorney as soon as possible after you've been fired. You can prove you were unlawfully terminated even if your employer doesn't admit it. Too many Iowans do not contact an attorney because they mistakenly believe that proving a termination was unlawful is next to impossible. Very few employers who fire their employees for unlawful reasons admit the true reason for the termination. Instead, employers will come up with some other reason, like poor work performance or too many work absences, in order to hide or disguise their illegal conduct. But just because employers are too savvy to admit their own wrongdoing is not the same as saying that it's impossible to prove what they did was illegal. In almost all employment cases, a skilled employment lawyer can use circumstantial evidence to show what truly motivated an employer to fire someone. Some examples of this circumstantial evidence might include an otherwise good work history shown through performance evaluations and a lack of prior negative documentation. Establishing that the employer failed to follow its own policies. Gathering evidence to show how you were treated in comparison to other employees. Gathering behind-the-scenes emails and other correspondence that may hint at an employer's true motivations. There may also be other more tangible evidence, like personnel files or employee handbooks that your lawyer could use to support this circumstantial evidence. All of this evidence will likely be collected during the discovery process after a lawsuit is filed, and could help reveal your employer's true motivations. You could recover significant damages for your unlawful termination. Iowa law recognizes that an unlawful termination causes serious harm, and if you successfully prove that your employer's conduct was truly unlawful, you may be entitled to recover a variety of damages. Every case is different, and the type of recovery you can get depends on what law your employer broke when firing you. But generally speaking, you can recover compensation for your economic losses, such as your salary and benefits, that you suffered because of the unlawful termination. And in some cases, compensation for the emotional distress that the unlawful termination caused you, including things like the embarrassment, anxiety, stress, and other emotional pain and suffering. In some cases, you can recover reimbursement for the fees and expenses that you had to pay to your attorney. Of course, your economic losses can be calculated by comparing what you used to make before your termination to what you make following the termination. Compensation for harm like emotional distress is more difficult to estimate. Ultimately, a jury or fact finder would need to listen to testimony from you and your witnesses about how you were harmed from a mental and emotional health standpoint, and then determine an amount of money that adequately compensates you for that harm. A skilled Iowa employment attorney helps you and your witnesses to aid the jury in understanding the emotional hardships that your unlawful termination caused you. RSH Legal offers free, no-obligation case evaluations for Iowans who have been unlawfully terminated. To schedule yours, call 1-800-433-0283 today.